Top 10 Most Beautiful Tiaras. The Aquamarine Miracle, the mysterious story of Lady Hesketh's tiara. Aquamarines, despite the fact that they are not considered as expensive stones as diamonds, emeralds, sapphires, or rubies, have always been very popular, especially among members of European royal families. Among the many aquamarine tiaras, there are two that have become particularly famous. One of them belonged to Queen Elizabeth II, and the other to the last Russian Empress Alexandra Feodorovna. Elizabeth II's tiara was distinguished by its solidity and grandeur, while Alexandra Feodorovna's aquamarine parure, created by Carl Fabergé, looked more modern and fashionable due to the unusual rectangular cut of the stones. However, in addition to these famous tiaras, there was another, no less exquisite, but belonged not to a representative of the ruling house, but to a private customer. This tiara, now known as one of the most elegant among all aquamarine ones, was made in 1910 in the Belle Époque style. The customer, according to the Sotheby's auction, was Lady Hesketh. However, it is not known exactly who she was. It was probably Flora Hesketh, the wife of Thomas Fermor, 1st Baron Hesketh. Thomas Hesketh, a soldier and statesman, served in the English Horse Guards and Hussars, and after his retirement became a Member of Parliament and Sheriff of Northamptonshire. His wife Flora, despite her simple background, came from a wealthy family. Her paternal grandfather was the Vice President of the United States, and her maternal grandfather was the President of Wells Fargo Bank. Thomas and Flora's wedding took place in 1909, around the same time the tiara was created. The couple had 5 children, but their lives were overshadowed by tragedy. The eldest son, Thomas Hesketh Jr., died in a plane crash at the age of 27. The heir to the fortune was his second son, Frederick Hesketh, who became the 2nd Baron Hesketh after his mother's death in 1956. The next owner of the tiara was probably Alexander Hesketh, Frederick's eldest son and Flora's grandson. In 2006, Alexander was experiencing financial difficulties, and in 2007, he could put the tiara up for sale. Alexander was a member of the House of Lords, but did not actively participate in its work until he was shamed by Margaret Thatcher. After that, he became active under her leadership, served as a minister in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and in 1999 lost his seat in the House of Lords due to the abolition of hereditary titles. In 2003, he became treasurer of the Conservative Party, but financial difficulties forced him to resign in 2006. Thus, the mysterious history of Lady Hesketh's tiara remains shrouded in mystery, and it is unknown who was its last owner. Perhaps it continues to attract the attention of jewel connoisseurs, like other famous aquamarine tiaras of the past. Princess Alexandra adored her tiara, which was given to her by her sister, and often wore it. However, today her whereabouts are unknown. On the internet, you can find photos of a tiara similar to Alexandra's amethyst tiara, but in fact its design differs from the mystery. The tiara's secret is actually kept at the Argenti Museum in Florida. The museum does not disclose information about its owner and the history of its appearance in the exhibition. It is known that the tiara was made in 1900 by the jeweler Cartier. Queen Alexandra bequeathed her amethyst tiara to her daughter, Princess Louise. Princess Louise gave the jewelry to her daughter, Princess Maud, who wore it almost exclusively with sapphires. These were probably the same sapphires that Maria Feodorovna and Alexander III gave to Alexandra. Wearing a sapphire tiara, Maud attended the coronation of King George VI in 1939. Later, Princess Maud sold the tiara and necklace to various private collectors. Their current location is unknown. There is an assumption that the jewelry has not been disassembled or recycled. Tiara of the Duchess of Caetana de Alba, the most titled woman in the world. Duchess Caetana de Alba was a unique personality who combined optimism, will, determination, eccentricity, and the desire for a long and happy life. She kept up with the times, inspired by the flamenco rhythm, and became the only Spaniard to be awarded a monument during her lifetime. Her sincere and charming smile was remembered by many. Cayetana knew how to enjoy every day, despite the difficulties of life. Cayetana de Alba died in November 2014 at the age of 88. Her life was full of events and left a vivid mark in history. What was she famous for? Her parents were among the richest people in Spain and close to the royal family. Cayetana's mother died early, so she was raised by her grandmother and governesses. At the age of 10, the family moved from Madrid due to the Civil War and settled in the UK, where Cayetana's father served as ambassador. The harsh London climate and the horrors of the Second World War were severe trials for the young Cayetana. Her only support was her friend, Princess Elizabeth II, known as the Queen of Great Britain. Their friendship lasted a lifetime. Interestingly, Elizabeth was inferior to Cayetana in terms of the number of titles. The Duchess had 49. However, the royal status imposed certain restrictions on Elizabeth, while Cayetana could enjoy life, dance, wear extravagant outfits, and adore jewelry. One of Cayetana's most famous jewels was her diamond and pearl tiara in a floral style. She first wore it to her first wedding, which became one of the most expensive in Europe. The ceremony was attended by over 2,000 guests. Cayetana and Luis Martinez de Irujo were happily married and had 5 children. However, Louis died of leukemia 26 years later. Cayetana was helped to cope with the loss by her second love. 10 years later, she married ex-priest Jesus Aguirre and lived with him for 23 years. But this marriage also ended tragically. Jesus died of cancer. After the second loss, Cayetana became depressed. She tried to regain the joy of life, including plastic surgery to preserve her youth and beauty. However, plastic surgery did not produce the expected results and worsened the situation. Nevertheless, a few years after the death of her second husband, Cayetana decided to get married again. Her chosen one was Alfonso Diaz, who was 30 years younger than her. To avoid accusations of mercenary motives, Diaz renounced the right to Cayetana's inheritance. Cayetana's third wedding was modest, but with her usual style and enthusiasm. She was enjoying the moment, dancing and radiating joy. However, 3 years after this joyful event, the Duchess passed away. Cayetana de Alba will forever remain in the memory of millions as an extraordinary woman who loved life and knew how to enjoy every moment of it. Tiara Westminster Halo. I remember the first time I saw this photo. It fascinated me. Light, white flowers, a beautiful young woman, and a diamond tiara resembling an ice coconut. This is the Duchess of Westminster wearing the Westminster Halo tiara, which creates a radiant halo around her face. This jewel has an interesting history. The tiara was created for Lolia Ponsonby, the third wife of the Duke of Westminster. They married in 1930, and Winston Churchill was the best man at the wedding. I have already told you about the blue enamel tiara created for the Duke's first wife. He was known for his marriages and married 4 more times. But then his heart belonged to Lolia, for whom this tiara was made. The inspiration for her design was not kokoshniks, but Chinese national headdresses. Although I can't get rid of the association with kokoshnik, initially the tiara was decorated with 3 large historical diamonds. King George III received one of them as a gift from the Eastern monarch, and the other 2 were given by his wife, Queen Charlotte. Subsequently, these stones were sold to court jewelers and entered the collection of the Westminster family. In 1930, when the Duke was about to get married, diamonds were installed in a tiara. The Duke's wives came and went, but the tiaras remained. At the coronation of Elizabeth II in 1953, the Westminster halo adorned Anna Sullivan, the Duke's 4th wife. After the Duke's death, his heirs faced a huge inheritance tax. In 1959, the tiara was put up for auction at Sotheby's. It was sold for £110,000, which became a world record for jewellery sold at auctions. The tiara was purchased by jeweller Harry Winston and extracted the famous diamonds from it, which he repainted and sold separately. The tiara itself was also redone. She stayed with Winston, but she was loaned to celebrities. In particular, for a while it was decorated with large turquoise instead of diamonds. This is perhaps the most controversial version. The tiara could be worn as a necklace, and once it adorned the neck of rock musician Alice Cooper. He had one diamond tiara on his head, another around his neck, and Salvador Dali was standing next to him. There is another interesting line in Tiara's resume. In 1988, the tiara was again exhibited at Sotheby's. Since then, it has been in a private collection and no longer appears in public. The portrait of the penultimate Empress of Russia, Maria Feodorovna, in a luxurious sapphire engraving is well known to history lovers. After the revolution, this parure was sold abroad, probably in disassembled form. Maria Feodorovna was able to take some of her jewellery to emigration, but she could not take the sapphire tiara. The jewellery remained in Russia, and its fate remained unknown for a long time. It was assumed that one of the sapphires of this parure was acquired by the British royal family in the 20s, and then used to create a pearl choker, which now belongs to Princess Anne. However, the sapphire in this jewellery exactly matches in shape and colour one of the stones in Maria Feodorovna's parure. A few years ago, an American librarian studying old documents of mineralogist George Kunz discovered a book in Russian, a catalogue of the Russian Diamond Fund, in 1922. This catalogue was published in several copies, but only one has survived to this day. It is known that Kunz collected rare books on mineralogy and, perhaps with someone's help, was able to obtain this edition in Soviet Russia. The catalogue itself was an interesting find, but its contents were even more impressive. Photographs of the Romanov jewels, which were considered missing and whose fate was unknown, were found in the book. These pictures became a real sensation, as these ornaments were no longer in the catalogue of the Diamond Fund in 1925. Previously, the 1925 catalogue was considered the most complete collection of photographs of the confiscated treasures of the royal family. A careful study of the catalogue showed that in 1922, an unusually beautiful sapphire tiara with diamond pendants was kept in the Diamond Fund. However, in 1925, this decoration was no longer in the funds. The design of the Romanov sapphire tiara was reminiscent of the famous Elizabeth Petrovna fountain egret. As in the egret, the diamond pendants in the tiara swayed and shimmered with rainbow colours as the empress moved. In the famous photograph of the Romanov jewels taken in 1922, a sapphire tiara can be seen in the centre, just to the right of one of the caskets. This photo confirms that the tiara was sold between 1922 and 1925. A luxurious sapphire tiara was also discovered on the famous portrait of Maria Feodorovna by Konstantin Makovsky. The kokoshnik of the empress in the portrait repeats the design of the mysterious tiara from the 1922 catalogue. Maria Feodorovna probably ordered to put a sapphire tiara on a gold base in the form of a coconut. In the imperial family, such jewellery transformations were commonplace. Many Romanov tiaras could be worn in different ways. Some tiaras could even be removed from the frame and worn as a necklace. In addition to Maria Feodorovna's sapphire tiara, 3 other items were found in the 1922 catalogue that were missing from the 1925 catalogue. The most notable of them was a diamond brooch with a huge sapphire in an original bow design. A passion for jewellery, her husband's infidelities and the missing tiara of Queen Victoria Eugenia of Spain, wife of King Alfonso XIII, was one of the most elegant monarchs of the early 20th century. Her jewellery collection was admired throughout Europe. The Queen loved jewelry so much that even during her illness she ordered new jewelry to cheer herself up. Courtiers gossiped that Alfonso XIII's every betrayal cost him jewels for his wife, but even all the diamonds in the world would not be enough to cover all the fines of the king. Many famous pieces of jewelry from Victoria Eugenia's collection are well known, especially those passed down to her descendants. However, today we will talk about the turquoise tiara, which disappeared without a trace during the Queen's lifetime. In 1906, after marrying King Alfonso XIII, Princess Victoria Eugenie of Battenberg received many impressive gifts. Among them were the jewels that became the basis of her legendary collection. Victoria Eugenia's aunt and uncle, King Edward VII and Queen Alexandra, presented her with a turquoise necklace and earrings. During her first year in Madrid, the Queen received several more pieces of jewelry from her husband. In addition to the turquoise and diamond half-frame, Alfonso XIII ordered an impressive crown-style tiara from the Anserina jewelry house. The crown consisted of diamond-shaped arches with turquoise buttons and diamond stars. The earliest photograph of Victoria Eugenia in this tiara dates back to 1914. In the following years, the Queen often wore a turquoise parka. The press admired her beauty. The blue stones harmonize with the blonde beauty of the Queen, idealizing her. The portrait, painted by the Spanish artist Modesto Teixidor Torres, depicts the Queen in a turquoise parure. The kit accompanied her to an evening of solidarity with the Spanish Red Cross at the Ritz Hotel in Madrid. Later, the Queen decided to redo the elements of the turquoise parure. The tiara was divided into a bandeau. The necklace became a long sautoir of chains with turquoise medallions, the earrings lengthened, and the brooch disappeared. An updated version can be seen in the wedding photographs of Infanta Isabel Alfonso of Spain in 1929. Between 1930 and 1931, the tiara was redesigned by the jewelry house Chaumet. A majestic platinum piece with 7 stylized heraldic lilies and intertwined ribbons appeared. Many turquoise stones from the previous version were used in the new one. The remaining stones were decorated with a Cartier bracelet. After the death of Queen Victoria Eugenie, the modified tiara was inherited by her daughter, Infanta Maria Cristina. In November 1984, the crown was put up for auction at Christie's in Geneva and sold for $85,000. The tiara was purchased by an international collector of jewelry of royal origin. However, turquoise, which emphasized the beauty of the Queen, was replaced by diamonds as it lost its color over time. The tiara of Marie of Teck. She is an excellent example of how jewelry from different generations can combine and create unique pieces of jewelry art. In 1893, Princess Mary of Teck married George, Duke of York, the future King George V. In honor of this event, she received many gifts, including jewelry. Residents of Lincoln County raised money and ordered a diamond brooch for her, a large stone surrounded by 9 smaller ones. This brooch has become a symbol of attention and love for Maria. Marie of Teck adored brooches and often wore them. In her time, they were an important element of the wardrobe, enlivening closed daytime dresses and decorating evening low-cut dresses. The brooch was one of the main ornaments for older ladies. Later, in 1931, Marie of Teck ordered a new tiara from the Garrard Jewelry House. This tiara, made in the Art Deco style, has become the epitome of her modern look at jewelry. Laconic and geometric, it included elements resembling diamond roses. The central part of the tiara was the same brooch given to her in her youth. Marie Teck's bandeau tiara has become not only an ornament, but also a transformer. The brooch in her center remained removable, which allowed Maria to wear the tiara and brooch separately. Over the next 20 years, she often appeared in this set. After the death of Marie of Teck in 1953, her jewels passed to her granddaughter, Elizabeth II. However, the Queen has never worn this tiara to a public event. In 2018, the tiara was given out for Meghan Markle's wedding, which was an excellent choice for her laconic dress.